If you have said to yourself, I should write that, or if someone has said to you, you should write that, then I'm talking to you because you need to write. And that's why you're tuned in to yWrite. Hi, welcome to yWrite. I'm your host, Angela Grout, and thanks for tuning in to another episode where you're going to meet writers and find out why they're writing, and why they're writing is going to help you to start writing your story too. We all have that story inside of us, whether it's the next great novel or maybe it's that memory that you want to share or your memoirs. We're going to get you to start putting your pen to the page and start your story too. And today, I have a local author who actually lives in the same town as I do in West Springfield, Massachusetts. And she wrote a book a few years ago. And I want to not only talk about her book and her journey and how we met, but you are going to find this show so inspirational about memoir writing and just about really authentically becoming who you are. So I would like to introduce, with no further ado, Jasmina Ceric.
Thank you so much, Angela.
Hi, Jasmina. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
So we met, I want to say like 15 years ago.
A long time ago.
When did you publish your book?
So 2016, it was officially published.
Okay.
But we met a while back.
So yeah, the book is called Childhood Interrupted from Bosnia to America.
Correct.
And I own the Agua Flower Shop. I remember this day like a movie.
Beautiful flower
So
shop.
you came into the shop, you saw that I had some books, and I remember you asking the girls, oh, you sell books here? And they're like, well, we sell the owner's books. You know, she's an author, and we have her books in stock. And you're like, well, I wrote a book. Maybe she'd consider having it in the store. Can I leave a copy? So you left a copy, and they told me, and I'm like, well, I never really considered, putting other books in the store or anything. But, I'm reading it, and my heart just thumped with the story of, you're from Bosnia. I don't want to give a lot of the story away because we want to talk about how you wrote it and everything. But, there was the one scene where, the war is going on and your mother's trying to keep everybody safe. Mm-hmm. And she's literally taking each child one at a time across a river to her sister-in-law's place, right? Mm-hmm. Carrying them across the river in the water, not in a boat, with bags of whatever supplies you needed. And I'm just like, this isn't the 1800s. This is, 1980s.
Right.
I'm like, the journey, and of course the title is Childhood Interrupted from Bosnia to America. It's the journey from Bosnia to America. And that first step, the first sacrifice your mom did, bringing you kids to safety, and you talking about that, and then how you came to America and who you are now. It's just, I was just like, yeah, I need to meet this woman. Like, I want to meet her because, you took the time to sit down to write this story. And, there's a whole calling to that because, everyone experiences something in their life, whether it's joyful or traumatic, and they're like, oh, I should write about that. But to take, how did you get the energy and the calling to sit down to start writing it?
That's an excellent question. And lots of questions in what
you
just summarized,
yes.
Which I love. First of all, I want to thank you for bringing me here. I think it's really important work that you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
And I think for your audience especially, if you come away with anything from this show, it should be that everyone should be writing. I firmly believe that. It is so therapeutic.
Oh, and we all learn from each other's stories.
We all learn from each other's stories, and I've often said this, there is no better, worse, happier, sadder. Yeah. Every single story of each human being is so unique. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I start out actually in the book because I feel at times I wrote a second book, which is not published, and I'm writing a third book. And in my third one, I say I often feel quite guilty by writing my story, and I wish that everyone could write their story.
Yeah.
Everyone in this world. Because everyone is so unique and has a powerful voice because their perspective is completely different. So for me, I hoped that my story the first one would be the voice for my people. Mm-hmm. And it did happen in the 1990s. I have to correct you there.
I would say late 80s, but
so
still.
21st century, in middle of Europe, and I've always written since I can remember kindergarten.
Mm-hmm.
Always have written. That was just very therapeutic to me to get my thoughts out before bed.
I'm that way. I have, whether it was a diary or a poem, and I'm right now working on a poetry book because I'm pulling all my old poetry everywhere, and I'm like, that was pretty good, or
So you think back and you're like, wow, I had those thoughts, and at the time you're just kind of spilling it out, and you realize those are some powerful words. Mm-hmm. So I've always written. It's nothing new for me, and I encourage my daughters. They also write.
When you were writing Childhood Interrupted, did you come up with like an outline first of what you wanted to include, or you just started just flowing?
When the war in Bosnia started by the annexation of Bosnia from the former Yugoslavia in 91, we were a country of 6 states. Bosnia separated, and then the Serbs, as we call them, or the Christian Orthodox, joined and refused to let us go, as is very common throughout history. They attacked us. So that's how the war started, not to get into the history of it, but it is major part of the book. So, it was a genocide and an ethnic cleansing. So when that started, we had to obviously escape. My whole entire town currently has over 96 mass graves. You lost your childhood home. So I was 11 years old, going on 12, so I wasn't really, a baby. And I was born very old. I always wanted to know everything, and, very old soul, very wise. To the point where, I took German lessons in school, but I had a private tutor in English. I spoke English fluently. I translated in these refugee camps for various journalists.
Yeah, and so you are a translator.
Correct.
And that is like one of your jobs that you which is very helpful to so many people who come into the country who can't speak English.
So I would translate in these refugee camps when we had to escape. We were in many, many different refugee camps. I would translate for journalists that would come all over the world and want to know what's going on, and would find me, or someone would say, hey, that little girl speaks English. So I would translate for them in return for money that I would give to women who had babies without fathers that were imprisoned in torture camps. So I would give them money and keep a few dollars for myself, hoping that my father was alive. So for a year, I didn't know that he was alive. We didn't know, because they did tell us that he was murdered. So I just wrote the whole entire time because I was so tense. I was so sad. I was so perplexed by the situation. I couldn't believe it.
And writing, as I'm sure you're going to agree with me, is, we've already said it's therapeutic, but it also helps you to kind of come to the acceptance of what you're going through, and also to document it for yourself, so you know how you're feeling at that time and what you went through at that time, just keeping that journal. And you had 12 years old. It's just like how you did all that you did, and here you're 18 now.
Right, in that book 18, I'm 18. That's right. But
you've become a speaker, you're a translator. Like, so much of an author, what happened to you at 12 really became who you are as an adult.
Right. That's absolutely true. That's an excellent point. What happened to me, it really brought out in me the mission of an activist and a humanitarian. I firmly believe that is my mission in life, period.
And, we talk about, like, on the show, a lot of times when someone writes a book, the book kind of becomes something you didn't know it was going to become. Like, you're writing this story to share your story, and now all of a sudden this has opened up all these doors for you. I mean, you've been on CBS. You've given talks at local colleges or colleges in general, sharing your story. Which, because you wrote it, now you're becoming the speaker to share your story verbally. Inspiring others, educating others, and even like just bringing awareness to that your particular situation, the situation on a global scale, right. And talking about writing right now, how important that is. Right. So, writing a book can bring you to a place that you never knew existed. Because when you were 12 going through this, did you think, oh, someday I'll write a book and I'm going to fight, hatred, and I'm going to go out there and be an advocate for peace, and I'm going to...
Well, it's really interesting you say that, because I did know.
You did?
When I was that age, I literally, it's really hard to believe, I had a mind of a 50-year-old. Mm-hmm. And my inspiration was Christiana Amanpour.
Okay.
That was my inspiration. The journalist
who was a talk show.
This is a very famous war correspondent, international, mm-hmm. just like the war correspondent journalist who made a story about me, Alan Pizzi. And he has been a journalist for 40 years. Wow. American... Well, actually, he's a Canadian national, but for CBS News, he's won every single Emmy and Oscar that you can win. He saw the Berlin Wall fall. Mm. He rode with the Pope in an airplane, 4 different popes in an airplane.
Did you ever think about becoming a journalist?
So that was my goal. That was to share those stories for the voiceless. Mm-hmm. So in my mind at that time, when I met Elizabeth Dole, for example, and she invited me to the White House, and I was in that refugee camp with lice and disgusting things. I thought, I want to be Christiana Amanpour and Elizabeth Dole combined, the president of International Red Cross. Mm-hmm. She was, at the time, for over 30 years. And I want to be helping, saving people.
And you do that. I mean, so you actively do that now. 'Cause
when I came to the United States, and I taught genocide in the 21st century at UConn and various colleges, that I achieved my mission, but it's never complete. So through my story, what continues is today. Today I am an activist for Palestine and what the genocide and ethnic cleansing that's going on there right now on our tax dollars, unfortunately. Today I do a lot of the talking on my show, Inspirational Women, trying to find women who want to write, who enjoy writing, but who inspire the world.
Again, I'm going back to writing a book to explain where your childhood is so other people can know what you've gone through. All of a sudden, evolves into, you're giving talks, you're going on television, you're on CBS with, Connie Chung, or all of these things, and then you're teaching and educating at the college level, going in doing keynote talks and things like that, and then you start your own show, doing Inspirational Women, and you're definitely an inspirational woman. I can see why you started the show, and the show's on Instagram. Is that right?
That's right. The show is on Instagram.
I'll put links and stuff.
But I think that the book is just a part of.
Yeah.
But I think for many people, it can be such a healing experience. Yeah. And, for me, it was just a part of. I think for me personally, I would have done this anyway, just because of my situation. I would have met all those people
You're
anyway.
a mother, you have children.
Right.
How much do they know of your story?
Everything. Absolutely everything, because I think education is key. They know exactly, where Palestine is, what to do about it to make sure that they don't consume or certain products and support certain products, because that makes an impact in the global economy. They're extremely educated and even a year ago, which I cannot believe that the whole world has witnessed a genocide for over a year. Year.
And you've been back over there.
So I have been to Bosnia many times. I go every summer for 2.5, 3 months. And that, because of Bosnia, the Hague was created, which is the International Crimes Tribunal, right, in Hague, Netherlands. So we have that for war criminals. However, that's not even utilized now for Palestine. The world has agreed that the president of Israel is a war criminal, yet we're not utilizing it. Everyone is scared to step in and save thousands of children that are being bombed. So that's one of those things that I will refuse to give up on, because education is key. And once people open their eyes and actually care and see what's going on in the world, they will realize. So through books, only through books, because the media does not show us everything in America.
No, I mean,
books do.
I think about like the Diary of Anne Frank.
That cannot be on media.
I mean, the Diary of Anne Frank has opened a whole world to everyone of what was really happening.
How would we have ever known what was really happening?
We're talking 1990s. Like, for me, I'm just like, that's my era, you know?
So we
and
said
like,
Anne Frank, never again.
And I remember reading, you know, as I'm reading it in your timelines and stuff, and I'm just like knowing where I was and what I was doing at that time.
But
in
remember,
my life. And
Anne Frank, we said never again, right?
Oh.
Then what came next, let's just put Europe in perspective, that continent. Then what came next was Bosnia. Bosnia is literally, we are 2-hour drive from Germany. My relatives that are in Germany, that live in Germany, every single weekend they go to Bosnia. We are right, Austria, Germany. We said never again. Then Bosnia, genocide. 2.1 million refugees out of a country that's 4 million. Bosnia, tiny.
yeah.
And 200,000 in 93, Clinton accepted, and I was one of them. So dispersed. We said never again. And what is happening now? The worst atrocities, more than the Holocaust, more than Bosnia combined in Palestine. Humanity is completely maniacal and sadistic at this point. Instead of peace and creating a better future for our children, this is impacting not just global warming, this is impacting our future at such a level economically. America, I don't know how we're going to survive tomorrow, and we're not even thinking about that. But the American media is not showing that. That's why books are so important. We need to read books. We need to read the history of each country. We need to write our stories. We need to read the stories of a Palestinian. We need to read a story of an Iraqi. We need to read a story and not listen to a politician who has an agenda to make $3 million. Of a survivor.
You are a survivor. You are very inspirational, and you're an activist. Like, you're actively in there doing things. I know you work with a missionary in, is it New Haven?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, for the refugees that come in, which, I mean, you have to be such a heaven-sent gift for them when they're coming into a strange country and, you know, not sure what's going to happen with them and can't speak the language. And then here, you know, you have beautiful Jasmina showing up, you know, with the ability to translate and help them feel comfortable and get adjusted. I just think that's wonderful that, you know, you take your passion and you're helping people.
Well, again, I think it comes down to education. We must educate ourselves in the United States. I love this country. I love how it welcomed me. It is my nest at this point. And I just think that there is more than television. We need to read. Yeah. Reading is everything, and reading survivor stories. I would never have known about you and what a gorgeous, heartwarming.
Sweet.
It's true. I always say, this is like my tagline my whole life. My word is my honor. My honor is my word. That what I say, I mean. I don't. Otherwise, I wouldn't say it. Why say it?
Yeah, I mean,
all we have is words.
We did a book signing or a book event at Barnes and Noble.
That's right. That's right.
10 years ago.
Years ago.
And I think it was in Hadley. Yeah. And we you know.
And you brought me flowers.
And it
with
was
pearls, my favorite.
Well, you know, I'm a florist. I have to bring flowers. But, you know, it's like we all, you know, we're giving book talks about our books and things like that. And, like, you know, you definitely were giving an education to people about, you know, what's going on in the world and narrowing it in with what happened with you, so it makes it so much more relatable. And I just remember like thinking, wow, she's so brave to go up there and tell her story. And I was doing Dear Baby Get Out, which is, a funny memoir of childbirth.
But that's education.
But I definitely, as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking I'm sharing this kind of funny story. And I'm like, no, I'm being just as vulnerable as you because I am telling my journey.
That is so vulnerable. I don't think I could do that.
Yeah,
I don't think I could do
really,
that.
because I kept saying, I'm not writing a memoir, no. Like, everything I've written in all of my books have been something that I have witnessed or experienced, but I've kind of, spiced it into fiction, because I just felt like it was, I wasn't ready to write my memoirs. I have been working on The Life of the Florist, to tell a little bit of that journey. But, I'm just like, it's hard to be vulnerable, and really share who you are with people.
I can't do that. My own children ask me all the time, even though we're extremely open in my house, how are babies made? How did I come out? What happened to me? And I'm like,
yeah.
And they know. I've told them.
Yeah.
We're very open, but I still kind of hold back because I'm shy in that respect.
No,
and for me to publish a book for the entire world to see, that is bravery to me.
Let's talk about the
compared to my
How
book.
did you publish your book?
So I decided, I had offers. I actually had an offer. This is kind of funny. I had an offer in New York to make a movie out of it.
Oh.
Years ago, I was sent 3 scripts.
I definitely could see it as a movie, but I also, I'd love to watch it, but it'd be hard to watch.
I got 3 scripts. One script, which was the journalist that found me, it was focused on him. He was drunk, if I recall. He just got divorced. Then he finds me, and he finds solace in my story. And I scrapped. I said, absolutely not. Second script, they fixed, and it was, again, about him. Third one, it was about me, but he, again, tended to be the main character. So I said, absolutely not. This is not about some sort of drunk journalist who gets divorced. This is about what my people went through. I want to be the voice.
Yeah.
So I declined that, and I could have been set for a couple of countries. And I'm proud. I'm very proud I declined that.
Wow.
For the movie, and then I had an offer to publish it, but she wanted me to change the voice, a quite famous publisher in Washington, Connecticut. She wanted me to change my voice, the 11-and-a-half-year-old voice, to then a 20-year-old voice. And I said, I'm not touching it.
It's very powerful being like that.
I don't care if it's incorrect, if it's not perfect. I am that little girl, and then I can add on the history, the whatever. But it stays as it is.
And this is the difference between writing nonfiction and fiction, for sure. Right. Because in a fictional story, like, with April Rain, I, have been pursuing it to become a movie. And I do feel like, okay, if they want to change certain things, I'm okay with it because it's not changing who I am.
Right.
But at the same time, you want to change, like Dear Baby Get Out and, say, oh, we have to name the baby something else. Well, no, this is more of a memoir. There are certain compromises you can do, and there's certain ones that you say, absolutely not. Right. I'm drawing the line in the sand, and this is my story, and you can't change that.
Right.
So kudos to you for sticking with your gun, because some people, would do that.
So I self-published it, and then Barnes & Noble came.
Yeah.
And so it's on Barnes & Noble. And it's on Amazon as well. So you can search it up on barnesandnoble.com and on Amazon.
And you still do book talks and
I do book
like
talks,
that.
yeah. I do quite a lot of high school and university talks, colleges, quite a lot. Public speaking is really, education is really
do you do them all in English?
Forum, yes.
Okay, just wondering.
Yeah. I speak Spanish.
Yeah, how many languages do you speak?
I tried once in Spanish. I was like, no, this is a little too much for me.
Okay.
Because those words are...
Do you think in English? I always ask you about who speak different languages.
I actually don't.
What do you think?
I think in Bosnian.
What do you write when you do your first draft? What do you write in?
I write in English.
Okay.
Which is very strange. I think in Bosnian, I write in English.
That's just so quick how it
it's just...
You're translating it in your body.
I think just because probably I'm used to it going here to high school, college, grad school, everything having to write in English.
So what do you think was one of the hardest parts about either writing it or publishing it?
I think writing it afterwards and the battle of kind of perfecting it afterwards. Editing it. I think that was it. And it's still not perfect. It's not at all whatsoever.
No, editing is hard. I mean, I have my fourth book or fifth book, 'cause I did a children's book. My fifth book is done, and it literally, I say it's been simmering on the stove for like a year.
I really...
And I'm like, oh, what's wrong? Why can't I just get this out? Because you go back and read certain things, and you're like, oh, I'm going to change out one word, or, and I'm like...
You know what? I used to be a perfectionist, but something in me drastically changed recently, where I really do not put that much thought in the perfection of it. I need to get the message out more so.
I definitely agree with that.
And I think this whole world of book writing should really lean towards that. Get the message out.
I've seen so many people do edit after edit after edit after edit after edit, and you're like, enough already. Right. And as a florist, like, there's deadlines for my flowers, like whether I'm doing a funeral or a wedding. And and you know how many times I can make a bouquet and I'll look at it and, my staff or someone will be like, oh, it's perfect. And I'm like, no, I got to move this. I got to add this.
And flowers aren't perfect.
And you're like, constantly, and it's like, there's just a point where you're like, and I don't want to say it's as good as it's going to get, but it's good. And you have to
leave it.
And then, you know what? I delivered to the bride and she's just like, oh my God, it's beautiful, and you're making someone happy with it, and it's like sometimes you just try to correct all these things that you think need to make it look better, and it's like, no, you just want it to have the message of what it's supposed to have.
In Bosnian we say, kraj, the end, fin.
Kraj.
I know, just like
that's what it sounds like. I'm like, kraj.
Or in Arabic they say khalas, like enough, that's enough.
Well, I have to say, I do hope my audience goes and wants to read your book, because the story is incredible, especially for what's going on in the world today, to open your eyes to,
it's
things
very,
like
very important. Please read. Not just my book, but educate yourself on global affairs.
Your story of just who you are and how you have, succeeded in America. I know you've had your own businesses, you've, done, paid talks, which is something we didn't really get into, but as an author, getting someone to approach you to say, would you come talk about your book and get paid for it? Like, how do you get a gig like that? Because, these are things that happen after the book is done. Right. And, maybe someone out there who is looking for that can reach out to you to say, okay, how'd you do this? Help me.
Absolutely. I am on Instagram mostly. I'm on Facebook as well. So Face Connoisseur, which is, I probably should have changed that a long time ago, is on Instagram, but under my name.
Face Connoisseur is the name.
On Instagram, Face Connoisseur, and we can put that link up there.
Yeah. And, so on Instagram you have Inspirational Women. That's one of the shows that you do. Your books are available
on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
And how does people get in touch with you?
And Facebook. You can, Childhood Interrupted is on Facebook. Its own page, and under my name, Jasmina Ceric.
It's always fun balancing those pages.
But those pages,
seriously. I have a Facebook page for every single one of my books, for the show, for me, for an author, for my family life. It's like I have 17 pages on management.
I'm going to Alaska one of these days, just off. No, but I love receiving emails and messages. I actually received a message from one of the journalists that met me in 92 and sent me a picture. 4 pictures of me.
That's nice. And you have pictures,
randomly.
You have pictures in this book too.
So I have some of those pictures.
I just remember seeing.
So it's cool. Yeah.
So it's just neat to see.
I love receiving. So ask me any questions. I'm more than happy to answer. Yes. So this can become a job. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if you are willing to put the time and effort, it can become a job. It is very therapeutic. A career that you love. It is very therapeutic. And if you want to educate people and want to send your message and you're yearning to get that message out, it's even better. So books are the way to go.
Well, thank you so much for coming in. I mean,
You're so
you know,
welcome. Thank you for having
me.
me.
It's been lovely, and we're going to do this again sometime, even if it's just you and I going out for a cup of tea or something.
Yes.
It will be great.
Yes.
And I want to thank my audience for tuning in to another episode of yWrite. And I just want to say thank you so much for Studio 954 to make this show possible. And this is the time of the show where I give you your writing prompt. So when the show is over, you know the drill if you've been watching, and if you don't, I will tell you. Set your alarm on your phone or your alarm on a timer on a microwave or something for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be long. However much time that you think you can just devote to putting that pen in your hand, taking a piece of paper, and start writing. And today we've been talking to Jasmina, and we talked about her childhood journey and how she became a writer and a speaker and to share her message. And you have a message. And you know, whether it's an experience you had in your life or a feeling that you have, I want you to just start writing about something you would want to share. Something that you feel called to share with someone. It might be something that you just want to share privately with, I don't know, your daughter, your granddaughter, your son, your neighbor. Might be something that you want your community to know about, or something that, you know, you want to be remembered by. So just pick up that pen, set your timer, and start writing about a message that's important to you that you'd want to share with someone. So while you're doing that, I want to say thank you for watching this episode of yWrite. Hope that you're subscribing to the YouTube channel so that you can watch all of the other episodes with all of my other guests. And stay tuned to hear more about the Writers Conference that I hold every year, the first Saturday in November. And if you're interested in it, you can click the link below that I will leave, and you can sign up to come because it's right here in Agawam, Massachusetts. And I'd love to have you right here at the Writers Conference for yWrite. Thank you so much for tuning into yWrite, and I will see you next time.